it's leaving it all because you just think it's small, but and actually you realize how much it, like if you, like someone might not reprice their services in a year or two or something, and then think, oh, it's probably just like a few £100 a month or something, and then realize it's actually a few £1,000 a month.
Most business owners are bleeding money without even realizing it, and by the time they do, it's generally too late. I have seen multiple business owners build successful businesses, and I've seen them watch it fail. And it fails because they don't have the right financial strategy in place, they've had some bad tax planning, poor cash flow management, and there's blind spots in their accounts, and it costs them thousands. In fact, in some cases, it actually costs them the business. If you get it wrong, you're not just losing profit, you could be handing over much more than you need to the tax man, and you could be missing out on major financial opportunities. So today, that's why I'm going to be joined by Chris Demetriou of Archi Media Accounts. Chris is not just about filing numbers. He has helped business owners and property investors keep more of their money, make smarter decisions, and structure their finances in a way that builds real long-term wealth. So after some technical glitches that we've suffered before we hit the roll button, Chris, welcome to the Director First podcast.
Thank you.
Obviously, I start these podcasts, Chris, really just finding out a little bit more about you and sort of what is your background, what inspired you to pursue a career in accounting, and sort of what has happened to get you to the point where you are now in your business?
Yeah, good question. So I'm of Greek Cypriot origin. So my parents, or my dad came over when he was about 22 after national service in Cyprus, and my mum, so my mum's parents came over in like her dad came over in the 50s. So my mum is kind of second generation, even though she went back and forth on that, and my dad's my dad came over. So and I've always lived, like when I was born basically, and just was living on top of a chip shop. So and that was in Birmingham, and then when I was about 2, we moved to Nottingham, again to a chip shop, and then my parents bought a chip shop when I was about 3. And Greek Cypriots do a lot of chip shops, and I forgot his name, Squib something, this marketing guru on YouTube. He's like one of the most famous marketing guys, like some senior guys from top agency. He says that I think the best business university is just literally growing up in a family cafe or family chip shop or something like that. Because and when I was a kid, I didn't really realize that, but I think there's just some things that you learn that you realize other people don't really know. And I think really business just comes down to the customer, customer experience, value proposition, USP, whatever people call it. But really it is, it's about the customer. And yeah, I saw this thing on LinkedIn, guy who owns Vitabiotics, he just put just give value. There's one LinkedIn post that I think it just like it blew up or something. It just said just give value. So I think that's what you realize when you're growing up, like the customer is kind of king, really. So I used to live next to the chip shop, do my thing, eat my kebab and chips every day, but also come into the chip shop and just be really wary that there was customers in that room. And if I come, I'd be very careful if I would show my face. Just because I had this thing ingrained in me that it's almost like a sacred thing, because these people are giving us money and you have to sort of look after them. So that's my, obviously I've done a lot of other things in my life, but I'd say in terms of business background, that's my background. I mean, I did economics for A-level, maths for A-level, went to uni.
That's all the boring stuff.
Exactly.
Growing up in the chip shops where the gold is,
That's it. You do. I mean, I was when I was really young, I used to chase the manager. My dad had a Greek manager. I used to chase him with a hose pipe and whip him if he'd get too cheeky with me. That's when I was like 6 or 7. So he used to have like black marks. I think I was allowed to do that because I was only 6 or 7. So
Yeah,
I
there
don't think
could
I'd
be
get in
there could
trouble
be
for
a
that.
lawsuit flying its way to you in the next couple of months when it comes.
Nah, he's good people. He's good people. We still know him. He's a good guy.
I mean, one thing you've said there, and I think it's like such a key thing. I mean, I've run my own businesses. I think probably from the age of 25 and 42 now. I have found most people in business to be full of shit. Right?
Mm,
Really, they don't do what they say they're going to do.
yeah.
They over promise, they under deliver, they dodge your calls. When things are going good, you don't really learn
Mm.
anything about somebody. But when stuff takes a turn for the worse, and
And I hate to
I
say it,
can,
in this country, especially, I think,
well,
in Cyprus, where obviously I've got roots there. I'd say I'm British, but also Cypriot. They serve customers a lot better. That's where you say, so people go on holiday there, and people say they're so nice. They look after the kids. They're hospitable. Like if you go into a shop in Cyprus and you buy something and they've not seen you before, they're like, oh no, take that chocolate bar for free. Take this,
yeah,
and that's obviously a weird accountant saying that, it's coming off your profits or whatever, but they realize that it's all about looking after the customer. So service out there is a lot better. And I think in America, I think if a lot of British businesses were competing with America, they'd struggle a lot, because I think that Americans give better service as well. So when you're saying, they say they're going to do one thing, not really do it, I think their image of customer out there is better than in the UK.
and that's it. If you drill this down to the absolute basics, like for me, it's just do what you say you're going to do. That's it. And if there's a problem, deal with that problem head on, because there's stuff that comes up in business that you can't foresee. Something goes wrong. I mean, I go back to like tradespeople. Like, I am astonished
Yeah.
how any of these get any work. Like,
Well,
I
it's because
was
they're all like that.
waiting
It's because they're all like that.
2 months to get someone to come and fix a
Yeah.
radiator. Two different
They might
firms.
not. They're not pick up
And
the
like, and I
phone.
compare
Yeah.
it to another guy who I use who's a builder. Like, this guy is bombed out. It's him and his dad. Like, we had an extension off him, and it took us 12 months for him to come. And he's doing some work on my mother-in-law's house, and he couldn't be there on the Monday when he said he was going to be there. But on the Thursday, he rang up my missus and said, Holly, I can't be there on this date. I'll be there another day. Whereas the other,
Mm-hmm.
they literally don't ring. And I just think, how on earth? And that's not an exception. That's like what I have found dealing with, because I've got a bit of a property background as well,
Yeah.
dealing with tradespeople in this neck
Yep.
of the woods. It's like, I had a ponytail me before I did property. I lost all my hair pulling it all out, chasing these tradesmen around.
Yeah.
A lot of insolvency people will sit down and they will spout the Insolvency Act at a very scared director who does not need to know the Insolvency Act inside out. They need to understand, what is their problem? What does it mean for them? What are the options of getting them from A to B legally with within those rules? And I think sometimes once somebody's gone into insolvency, the feedback that we got for years is the service was terrible. It was almost, oh well, we've been appointed now. We've had your money. We're not going to answer it. We're not going to answer your calls. We're just going to send you. There was never any. If you look at Trustpilot and look into insolvency, there's very few businesses that have any reviews, and sadly, the reason is that the customer service post taking someone's money is shocking. So it was a real easy gap in the market to sort of exploit and come out the other end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, literally, I think it comes down to trust, doesn't it? Do you trust this person? Have they got your back? It's the same with an accountant. Do you actually trust that this person and have they got your back? Like, because at the end of the day, if an accountant has got the skill, the actual knowledge, the tax knowledge and the financial knowledge, financial analytics, whatever you want to call it, if they've got the skills, and they care about you, but also if they've got like an entrepreneurial mind, an entrepreneurial spirit about them, because I read this Lord Sugar article in an ACCA magazine. It was only, I won't read, the ACCA magazine for business advice, but it was in there. And it was just about how, like, it was saying you could be the best accountant in the world, he was saying, but if you don't understand the business that you're trying to help, that how it actually, why it makes money, why that business makes money, like what's it doing for its customers to make money, then you'll never be any use at all, because you could just, like you say, spout off this and that, but if it's not actually, if it can't get to the crux of why that, helping that business, then there's no need for it. But yeah, caring about that person as well, because if you've got all those skills, but you actually genuinely care about someone, because there's, again, going back to that sort of Cypriot roots, there's this quote, well, say quote, it's like a saying in Greek, which is, it's easy to cry with people that are crying, but it's very hard to genuinely celebrate when someone else is doing well. And you think this, like, your next door neighbor wins the lottery and they're about to move house or something with the big swimming pool and all that. And you're like, even if you actually care, like, even if you're like, it's good. It's good that, what he's getting, it's good. But it would have been better if it was me, There's that bit of jealousy in there. There's that bit of, so can you genuinely, this is your client, who you've got for 10, 20, 30 years. Do you genuinely get happy when they've done well? And people know, I think people understand if you really care about them, if you've got their back. So, and if they can trust you and all that kind of stuff. So that's really important. But yeah, doing the basics.
I mean, the saying I like is you can believe in God, but you got to tie up your camels. Okay. So, because I think trust is a big thing, because, in the age of social media,
Yeah.
people will post what they want to post. They will post, it's very easy to create a narrative of who you are. Listen, I know you've got a property background, and I see that a lot, because there will be people posting on social media, I've got this deal, this is
Yeah.
the numbers. You never hear of them again because the deals fell flat on their arse and the
Yeah.
investors aren't getting the money back. I've been involved in a lot of insolvencies and advisory around property. And that's
No,
just one example, isn't it? It's like, so the question I want to ask you is,
yeah.
how do you find out whether you can trust someone in business?
It's quite tough, isn't it? I don't know. I've got a really high trust threshold. Like, I like to believe that people are good, genuinely. I really like, because I hate the idea of just being this grumpy guy who thinks everyone's like terrible. Not that person's not nice. They've done that for this reason. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt all the time, because it just makes me happier. I just feel really good doing that. But in terms of actually trusting whether someone, I should be with this supplier for like 10 years, 20 years. It just comes down. I think you just know. It's just the little things. It's just simple, isn't it? Really, it's like a plumber, for example. My dad's got this great plumber who we love as a family. Um, if you ask him to come, he'll just come. He'll just come, literally, and it doesn't matter if it's more expensive or whatever. He's there. And you can tell that he's trying to save you money. So, for example, in our proposal meetings, for example, sometimes we'll say to the client, no, you don't need that. I just realized you don't need that. So you're actually trying to get your own price down.
Mm.
That kind of thing, really. Just simple, isn't it? And you can also tell when someone's faking a bit, I think.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
the spider senses, isn't there? You're like, they're
yeah,
full of shit. There's
yeah,
something
exactly.
about them I don't like. I don't know what it
Yeah,
is. It's just some. But And like in business as well, I think you've got to go, you've got to, it's funny how where this is going really, but you've got to,
Mm.
when something's wrong in here,
Yeah,
I've got to pay attention to that.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
something wrong. And like you say, it's the little things. It's like, and trust is built over such a long time, isn't it? It's like, you don't, I want to, like, I want to see the best in people, as long as they pass
mm,
the spider sensor, when I meet them, I don't get like, ugh, I don't start to cringe when they talk. And I pass
yeah,
that and I think, right, well, there's a series of a business relationship where do they do what they say they're going to do? Are they, when there's a problem, do they front the problem up and go, Chris, this has happened, but
mm,
this is what we're going to do? Because I've got to be straight. I've been in business for some time, and there are more people who failed that test. Can you trust them long term? Not many people have that long term view of a business relationship. They should do. They definitely should do. But I see a lot of small business owners. They're under that much pressure. They're just
yeah,
trying to go for the quick wins, and they sacrifice service. They sacrifice
yeah.
that customer service. So it's like, and these are basic things, aren't they? If you can go out there, you can look someone in the eye, do what you say you're going to do the first time,
But
you
also, I think it goes
understand.
beyond doing what you're saying you're going to do. Because let's say if I was with someone who was a supplier, I mean, first of all, that's great that they've said, "Oh no, we can't do that," or "That's not actually possible," or anyone who says you can do that, that's they're lying to you, because I appreciate that, but at the same time, I want someone who's going to do me an excellent, who's going to achieve the goal. So there's a bit of that, like, because you could do what you say you're going to do, but be half the skill level of what we actually need in this supplier, if you see what I mean. So I think it goes beyond that as well for as if you as a company, if you're trying to be a good company, it depends, I guess, in what industry or whatever. But I think niching is a really good thing. So niching, because then you can become actually excellent at that type of thing, and just saying no to a lot of to a lot of different types of customers.
Yeah.
So for example, we've got a plumbing client who only does eco-friendly types of boilers and systems. So if someone's looking for that thing, he's spent the last 5-6 years being amazing at it.
Mm-hmm.
So so I think, yeah, trying to be excellent at what you're doing, I think is another thing, as well as obviously saying, um, being trustworthy and stuff. But yeah, I do appreciate when people are honest, but at the same time, I'm just like, oh, where is this person then who's gonna? Because I feel like this person could say, oh, it's not possible or whatever, and he's being honest, but there could be a supplier out there that can achieve this goal for us. Um,
Yeah, and people going over the extra mile, don't you? I like people who are creative, who can and try and get stuff done. But I would say
mm.
there's a fine line between being, having a can-do attitude and actually be, setting yourself up for a fail.
Oh
And
no, no, no! The last thing you want is some like chirpy sales guy who says, "Oh, you can do this," and then you can't. That's obvious, isn't it? You don't want that. You can't ever trust that person. But yeah, um, yeah.
one of the things that I wanted to sort of get into with you is sort of obviously based on your experience, a whole manner of challenges I'm sure that you've seen over the years. But what are the most common financial challenges that you are seeing businesses encounter right now? And a follow up to that question is how proactively can you address them?
To be honest, we don't really see many business financial challenges because most of our clients are really good businesses. We don't really appeal to businesses that just want to stay where they are, I think, who don't want to grow. As weird as that sounds, because we have quite a partner. partnering approach. We partner with the clients quite a lot. We talk to them quite a lot. We call them out of the blue all the time.
Well, maybe a
So
better question for you.
yeah,
Okay. Because I'm a big believer in the right advisors around you will
yeah,
stop these. Because either you'll see a
yeah,
challenge way ahead, or you'll stop the challenge altogether. Because let me tell you the basic story of what I deal with. I'm at the other end of the market, Chris. You know,
yeah, yeah,
people
yeah.
call me when Rome is burning. You know, there's
I got it. Yeah.
HMRC at the door, too much month at the end of the money.
Mm,
And the big thing is, mate, is they don't understand numbers. It's not that they don't understand the numbers; they don't even look at the numbers. They're like
yeah,
literally they're running a business with a very, very rough idea of, okay, well, I'm selling it for this, and costs are about here. I'm doing okay,
yeah,
and there's no cash flows, there's no profit and loss, there's
yep,
there's no looking at margins. There's no looking at. I mean, I see it in construction a lot, where a construction company are desperate. They're taking on this work. They're going to sites and big firms
yep,
at -5 margin because
yep,
they believe that they'll get it back on the variation. So, what is it
yeah.
you're doing differently with your client base that is resulting in them never needing to pick up the phone to a funny looking bold chap in the north of England that advises on insolvency?
No, it's a great question, and you're bang on, I think, because and I think it just comes down to, if what we were doing was marketing or sales or some sort of operational efficiency or whatever, the different, like, they're the different pillars of a business, really, aren't they? Marketing and sales, operations, and finance. If it was any other of those pillars, they'd get it straight away. I was talking to this one guy who was saying, why should I pay finance people? But why should I pay for a finance person? I'll just take on another engineer. I'll just use that money. So people don't get it. If you were making them money, then they would get it. If you're bringing in sales, but it's just literally, the finance is a pillar of your business, and you just, like you say, you just have to, as long as so there could be two cases, couldn't they? Someone could just be very sort of egoistic, like closed-minded, and just think that they know everything, and then think, no, we don't need any finance. We don't want a good accountant. We don't want a good finance team, whatever. So that's one. Or there could be the other thing, which I've seen quite a lot, where people are actually really entrepreneurial and great, but they're still quite young, and they set up a few businesses, and they finally find one that works and does well, but then they just never thought of it. They never thought of like a good accountant or whatever, and they just end up with someone who just files at the end of the year, and even though their business needs more than that. Oh, sorry, I think your video just glitched a bit. I was just going to ask you that. But yeah, so it's if you just make the conscious decision.
Zoom.
Yeah, so if you consciously try to create some form of finance department, some sort of finance function, whatever you want to call it, inside your business, it will do wonders. Because at the end of the day, there's a few different things here. So finance obviously means, if you consciously make finance a part of your business, first of all, you're not going to hit any big brick walls, because your finance team's going to be predicting, if we keep going on this path, this isn't good. We need to change something early, that kind of thing. We're making more profit out of these. Like you said before, that's dangerous, taking on those projects where we're -5% just because of some, perceived, benefit down the line. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that, but there's also, I think, especially as a business starts to grow, I think finance is key. And there's a reason why an FD is second in command in most businesses, and that is because finance is one of those things which glues all of the departments together. So
Absolutely.
operations wouldn't really talk with marketing much if it wasn't for finance, because it's the reports that finance brings that ties everything together. Because it's like
How ca-
marketing saying we need to spend this much money on whatever. and operations is saying, no, we need this money for this. So it's finance that decides how we spend the money. And really, to grow a business and to keep a business alive, it's all about investment, isn't it? What you invest your time in and what you invest, whatever money the business has. So making a good investment. And actually, accountants are what bring a business down. And accountants are what accountants are actually, without realizing it. I mean, they might in some scenarios might not call themselves an accountant, but they're actually acting like one. So I've got this theory on this, that our education in this country, our political system, most these kind of like big functions are will do badly because of finance. So what I mean by that is, so I went to buy a car from Arnold Clark, and I asked the guy afterwards, this process seemed just sort of so smooth. Like, have you got much paperwork to do after this? And he said, no, I've not got really any paperwork. It only takes like 2 minutes. But I used to work at Available Car or some other place, wherever. And he said it was like 2 hours. So I actually think that it's because of bad finance people inside a business that, because finance people set the measurements in a business, the KPIs, whatever you want to call them. So actually in a school, right? Because we think of this all the time. I chat to my kid. I've got 3 kids. I chat to their teachers, and the teachers say I've got so much paperwork, and they feel it's useless. So first of all, it's stopping good teachers from want to be staying as teachers. It's stopping, people who could be great teachers. It's people are leaving, stopping teaching because of it. There's too much work, too much stress, and really, the amount of actual time that they're using and energy to do the job that they're meant to do is getting reduced, it's becoming smaller and smaller. And why are they having to do all that paperwork and all this and that? It's because of, and just bear with me on this, it's because of accountants. It's accountants are basically people who set the measurements within an organization. When are we doing a good job? Performance measurements. So as a teacher, you're doing a good job if you're doing X, Y, Z. Those measurements are what can bring a business up or bring a business down, or any organization up or down. So there's this quote from like the 80s, which is, show me how you measure me and I'll show you how I'll act. So
Yeah.
accountants are the ones that are saying whether we're doing good or whether we're doing bad. And obviously, you could say, just look at the face of the P&L and say, oh, we're doing good or doing bad. But then for a slightly bigger business, you can start to break it down and say like why, and that's when you get to other kinds of KPIs. But yeah, so an accountant sets that, a top CEO will look to the FD to say, how well are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
And the business owner will look to their accountant to say, how well are we doing? So
Now,
an accountant's helping the major decisions being made within a business.
do you know what, though? I want to jump in on this because you're looking at that from the viewpoint of how your firm operates, okay? Because you've told me you're on the phone, you're literally partnering with your clients. Well, most accountants, they don't do that.
Yeah.
I tell you what, most accountants will do. They will ask somebody to drop, I think it was your one of your videos, the shoebox or a LinkedIn post. They'll drop a shoebox in every year,
Mm.
and they'll ask for some accounts to be done for the last financial year, which
Yeah.
are about as much use as a chocolate tea cozy. They
Mm.
are your statutory accounts to run a business. They're no help to a director, but a director thinks, well, I've got an accountant, I'm paying him whatever it is, 200-300 quid a month, and yeah, they do my accounts. Because I'll go, right, well, can I have a look at your recent P&L? Can I have a look at a balance sheet? Where's the bit? You're ringing me with all these problems. Let me see. Yeah, well, I haven't got one. Well, what
Yeah.
have you got? Well, the last thing I've got is March 23's accounts.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yep.
So that's for me. I think that's a really poor standard, and
Yeah.
direct. The confusion directors have, Chris, is they think that the accountant that they're choosing does all the other
Really.
stuff.
Yeah.
So can you break that down to me? Like, tell me what the basics are you need from an accountant, and tell
Yeah.
me what are the other things that you guys offer there
Yeah.
that are helping your directors make better decisions.
Yeah. So with all of our clients, no matter how small they are, whatever, we do monthly bookkeeping. So I mean really, but the word bookkeeping is sort of changed. I think what people think is bookkeeping is actually processing. But what bookkeeping has become is just management accounts. We do monthly management accounts really for all of our clients, no matter how big or small they are, do monthly management accounts for them. So you need to know how much you did last month. It's just as simple as that.
I
I
get
don't
it.
see. Yeah, you need to know. I think you're right. Actually, I mean, it's nice what you said. Like people think that they're getting that at the moment. They think that their accountant's sort of looking at it, but yeah, they're not. If they're if they're just doing it, if they're just doing the accounts once a year, they're not. They're not. Keeping their eye on your business.
So but we've got to bring this to the table. A director's got to pay for that as well. And you
They
talked
got to
about
pay for that. They got to pay for. And actually, so they're not just the report. Honestly, I know people. I know what it sounds like when I say this. Just the report's nothing. It's not.
it's
It's
pointless.
re-
It
it
just
really
keeps you
is.
out of jail, doesn't it?
It really
It's
is.
just
And that I know what that sounds like, but it's not what it sounds. I'm not. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to saying, oh no, just the report and there's some magical thing that accountants can do with their time. It's not like that. Just if I just see a report, it's not helpful. If I see a report of my own business, it's not helpful. I need to spend time to break it down. Otherwise, it kind of isn't useful. I mean, there's so many like accounting adjustments for things that just can make a report useless. There really is. Like, let me give you an example. Like, for example, say if you're a manufacturing business and you want to know how much money does this pen cost for us to make? How much profit are we making on these pens that we've sold? We can get the sales price all day long. We know what we sold them for. That's easy. But how much did the pen cost us to make? Simple as that. It sounds like to someone who's not a finance person, that sounds like just basic, it cost whatever it cost. But to a finance person, they know you can say that this pen costs you whatever you want it to. For example, right? Okay, the plastic, the ink, and the metal and whatever. But what about the office costs? Do we put some of the office costs towards this? The vans or that we're not using maintenance of whatever. What about all those costs? How do we allocate those costs to this pen? So, how do you do all that? What about the salesperson who spent however long negotiating to come up with this? So what I'm trying to say is that unless you spend time, it's not like the report is the useful thing, and it's not like there's one answer. It's more like if you just spend a lot of time thinking about it, that's the value.
So if we go back to what was said a while ago, and it's about having a finance department.
Yeah.
Now, let's there are businesses of certain sizes that'll go, oh, Chris, what are you talking about? Finance department? I can't afford a finance department. I'm a
Yeah. Yeah.
small plumbing business.
Yeah.
So what are the questions they should be asking their accountant? Or by all means, we're going to have all your details, putting them in the show notes if they actually want to give Archie Media Accounts a call. But what are
Yeah.
the things that they should be asking? And then after that, I want to come back to working out that cost of the pen. What are
Hmm.
the things that they can be doing?
Hmm.
How do they work out the cost of that pen? What is it they do? Is there a
Yeah. Yeah.
spreadsheet available? I want to
Yep.
give as much value as we can on this show.
Okay. So, um, there's two questions there. Firstly, when I say finance department, I get it. Honestly, I really get it because I hate jargon and all. When I say finance function, I prefer to say finance function. Basically, I just mean because every business really needs a bookkeeper, management accountant, and a finance director. Really, that's what every business needs. But obviously, so what we do differently is we've got those people in house, and we just provide that based on what we think that business needs. And it could just be literally like half an hour every so often, or a call here and there, or you know, so that's what a finance function is like. Um, uh, someone to keep an eye on things and to give you a call and to go through things because no one's going to know more than you about your own business,
Mhm.
but people know more about finance than you. So, and it's about having that partnership to talk everything through, to ask each other questions, to be a sounding board. So that's the finance function that I'm talking about. Monthly management accounts and also tax, saving as much tax as we can as well.
Now, before you answer question two, I
Yeah,
love it how, like, in your head, this is like just the basics that
yeah,
people should be expecting. And what
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, and there are so many people out there that will listen to this and go, "Wow, my accountant can do that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
My accountant can do this." And I think a lot of this is
Well, especially if people are watching your shows, because no matter how pretty you are, we don't want to really see you, do we?
I'm the Grim Reaper. Nobody wants to pick the phone up to me, and I get it. And listen, the good news is I get about 600 to 800 inquiries a month, and I
Bloody
don't
heck.
do anywhere near 600 to 800 insolvencies. Like most
Mm,
stuff is just some advisory. Do this, do that, do the other. This is how you deal with
awesome,
HMRC.
awesome.
Um, but you're right. One of the things that we try and do here is, let's say we've got a director who is becoming insolvent. We dig into the reason why you're insolvent.
Mm,
Where are the holes in this business's bucket? What's falling out at the other end, and could be a number of things. Poor sales, rising costs,
yeah,
poor. But I tell you what, most of them are really poor financial systems, poor
yeah,
financial reporting. So what we do is, if they're going to start another business, we're like, listen, you've got to learn from this. You've got to learn
yeah,
from this. And like, we started to interview directors, the brave ones that were happy to sort of come on camera. And
yeah.
one of
It
the
is a brave
questions we
thing.
asked
It is a
them,
brave thing.
yeah, because
Yeah,
it's like, I'll come on to like the myth that everyone who does insolvency is a crook. It's not accurate at all. But one of the questions is like, what have you learned from what you've gone through and everything? It's like, I need to keep on top of my numbers because this
it's
isn't
true. It is true.
to say it's not complex. You've got to have the right people, but it's not a big thing, is it? It's like, and I always go back to my own stories. It's like, I, for years, did not understand the P&L. It's not I didn't even understand it. It was like I was one of those guys that go, well, yeah, we're making about that, and costs are about that. We're
Yeah,
cushy, no problem. No provision for that, no provision for. So we'd have a crisis
yeah,
every three months, crisis once a year when the corporation tax were built. And then and then when I started to learn about it and understand it and realize like the software's out there. And by the way, I'm not promoting anyone to start using Zero on their own. I really think you need or whatever subscription that you use, you
yeah,
still need that bookkeeper in. But
yeah.
once you've delegated it, and people have got to see that as an investment as well. If you're looking at
It
it
is. It
as a
is.
cost,
Especially in bookkeeping, that management account, especially that's definitely, yeah,
but it's just refreshing because like for you guys, this is all you do, isn't it?
yeah,
It's like that's the the gold standard, isn't it? You're giving
yeah,
this every client. Like some firms, they don't offer this. So
yeah,
um, and there was a follow-up question that I asked you there. That was it, yeah. So if somebody wants to work out the cost of the pen, and this is a
yeah, yeah,
snazzy pen somebody bought me as a gift, what would they do? What's the type of information that they have to
yeah.
pull into a spreadsheet?
Yeah, so there's honestly, I would seem like a right dork talking saying this, but it's honestly, it's like how long is a piece of string? I know people don't want to hear that, and you think that accountants are just you know, everything's just numbers and it's just 2 + 2 = 4. But when it comes to working out the cost of something, it honestly isn't. And there is PLCs that have been brought down because one CFO was brought in to improve the business, but the decisions they made brought the business down to it, literally to its knees, like became insolvent. There's this big agricultural manufacturing business out in America that was like £100 million business, brought down because of a CFO came in, and just because of what we're talking about there, cost of the good. Because like I said before, like accountants will set the measurement, the key performance indicator. So how well did we do? Because the accountant is setting the cost of this thing. They're saying how much it cost us. So it's like how like we need to know that to know how well we've done. How things are going. So my view on it is just really keep it simple, because accountants wouldn't, like financial controllers and FDs in big businesses won't keep it simple and say that what the cost of this is. They'll allocate costs to this pen like there's no tomorrow. They really will. They'll allocate some of the head office to it. They'll allocate all sorts of things to it. And then the salespeople are making decisions. They're like, no, that pen's not that profitable. We'll go for this one because it's actually more profitable, because that's what the finance department's told us, how profitable it is. So we'll try and sell it for this price. We definitely can't sell it for this price because we won't make any money on it. But actually, a lot of the costs being put to this are not actually real costs. Like I say, allocating costs. My personal view on it is you do just what's called total variable costs. So you just do you don't allocate anything. You just do the plastic and that's all you do. Not even staff costs. My personal view on it is, why would you put staff costs into making this pen? How do you work that out? Like if you say like, oh, should we sell this pen for 50p, and the accountant's saying no because it costs us 52p. But how have you allocated staff cost to this? They've done it like based on time, let's say, how long it's taken certain staff members to make it. But if someone's asking us to buy like to pay like £10,000 for some of these pens, for a lot of these pens, and we say no because they want to buy them for 50p, and we think they actually cost us 52p. In plastics and everything, they only cost us 40p or 35p. But the rest is staff time, let's say, staff cost. But are we going to sack anyone? Are we going to hire anyone if we take on that contract? And if the answer is no, we're not actually going to, then why is there extra staff cost into taking that contract? You see what I mean? It's quite like if we're not going to hire anyone, then we've actually made money on that contract, because the staff cost has not increased. We're just saying we've just put some staff, we've allocated some staff cost to this pen. You see what I mean? So you can't just look at it. You can't with those types of costs, with staff especially, you can't allocate them to the cost of making something. You've got to make smarter decisions than that. And you know, you could get FDs that are paid like ridiculous amounts of money that make those mistakes. And yeah, I just think you should keep it simple. So look at the total variable cost. So how much plastic and all that has gone into it. And then if, like, when you're deciding, should we take this contract or not, factor in, do we need to hire any more staff? Because when you went back to construction, that's when we see a lot of construction firms and tradespeople making mistakes, because they're like, someone's just offered me a project for £150,000 or £200,000. That might, you know, increase our sales by a third this year. Let's do it. But then they don't realize, you know, they're going to have, if they have to take people on, and it's not good to rely on projects and all that kind of thing. So that's something quite specific though. You know, about total variable costs and stuff.
It sort of means, you know, get in touch with somebody who can help you work that out. You know, it's like go through it. And Chris, I want to sort of move on, because one of your videos that I saw on YouTube that I quite liked was tax planning strategies. It's basically saving tax.
Yeah.
Because there's there's a whole host of tax saving.
Just before we get on to tax saving, I'll just add to that basically, 'cause that was quite a narrow sort of thing, you know, talking about the pen and stuff. But in a more general point of view, like how do we help businesses? How can finance help businesses? I personally think that your finance team, the reason an FD is paid so much money or whatever, um, and we don't charge much for it. You know, like I say, it could just be like half an hour or an hour you need every 3 months or something. An FD should know all about marketing, all about sales, all about systemizing a business and operations and things. So this whole thing that a finance person should just be doing finance. Really, if you think about it, we only in our business we've only got one partner. I think the accountant's the only partner you have. You don't have like a bank manager like they say, maybe a marketing team, a coach, a business coach. I don't know, you know, just paying loads of money for you know a bit of coaching or whatever. If your accountant's got all your finances, so if they understand sales and all that, they can really, you know, if they understand sales, marketing, operations, they can help your business a lot.
A good one, like you say, an
Yeah,
entrepreneurial one.
exactly.
And
Yeah,
I mean, my two pennies. I mean, I spend day in day out speaking to different types of accountants all
yeah,
over across the UK, and some will ring and go, Chris, I've got this problem, what do you think? Others,
yeah,
I'll be dealing with a director and they're like, I need you to talk to my accountant. But the
yeah.
ones that I enjoy spending time with
Mm,
are the ones that have that entrepreneurial flair, you know, that
exactly.
are a little bit more creative and go, well, you could do. And sometimes, like with insolvency inquiries, it's like, listen, get your accountant on. I mean, we had one the other day. This guy is really wealthy on paper. His businesses are falling around. He's been advised of somebody to go into liquidation. He's seen an advert. He's picked the phone up, and we sort of dug into it and gone, listen, you've got huge directors' loan accounts on both of these companies.
Mm,
And if you put this into an insolvency, we've got to ask you to pay the director's loan account back. And your problem is you have £1 million house with no mortgage. Therefore, you can afford to pay it back. Although, and it would mean that either he has to raise money, which will be expensive because his personal credit is in the toilet, but if not, it could end up in bankruptcy. Like literally a liquidator. You've got good liquidators, you've got bad liquidators, you've got good ones that are quite open and transparent. What we've always done is we don't hide from problems, we try and deal with them. But the point I'm making is, I said, right, let's get on the phone so that me, the director, and his accountant, and we're sort of talking through this. And he's actually in finance, the guy, the guy who's got the
all right.
problem. Yeah, which is crazy. He's in finance, but his own finances are, you know, a bit all over the show. But after like an hour's talking through things, what we've decided to do is he's just got to make the best type of deals that he can with his creditors. And he's got to pay those directors' loan accounts down over the net. And his debts weren't comparative to what he used to earn. If this business gets back on its feet in the next 3 years, the revenue weren't going to wind him up. It's not a big enough debt to them. Okay. The
Hmm.
suppliers, I don't think that they're going to wind him up. And he's just got to go into this, you know, batten down the hatches. It's not going to be fun for him for the next few years, but it's the only option. Because if he'd
Hmm.
have pulled the trigger on an insolvency, all these other things, and a normal accountant, okay, perhaps would have said, well, liquidation's your only way forward. Where this guy who's a little bit more creative, a little bit more direct, it wasn't just
Exactly.
a standing order every month off this guy. He knew him, he understood his business, he knew his personal situation, and you know, I
Exactly.
learn a lot as well. I've learned a lot from this call, you know, and I interview people that I do. I
Yeah.
think I can pick stuff up from. So, but the next thing, obviously, I want to talk about is tax planning strategies. You know,
Yeah.
how can because everybody wants to pay. Well, nobody wants to pay any tax, right? But
The
if you
key.
pay tax, it's a benefit. You're making money. What
So
are some
some
tax
people,
savings?
yeah, because we say to people, say on a sales call, we say to people, you know, we can save you more tax potentially because we try and analyze the situation, like see what's been done already, and then decide from there whether, you know, tax planning is kind of taking a bit of a back seat in their business. And it obviously it shouldn't. It's money in your pocket. It's literally money in your pocket. There's no like margin to it or before tax or anything like that. It's literally money in your pocket. So what we say to people is there's no like magic briefcase of like special goodies that we're sort of hiding from everyone. It's just literally what it is just attention to detail. It's just doing all the little things. It's just the care to do all those little things. Just like what you said there, you know, some insolvency person or some finance person could say, "Oh, you need to become you need to become insolvent," and that's it. But like you say, like just looking at it, understanding the situation more, caring enough to understand the situation more, and just doing all the little things and just actually caring enough to figure it all out. And like you say, you know, with the insolvency example, and then realizing no, actually they shouldn't be insolvent. It's better to actually do this. So sometimes I think, especially where it's a slightly grey area, it's easier to just for an accountant just to kind of, like you're saying with insolvency, it's easier to just say no, you should just become insolvent. That's it, because you don't want to spend the time you don't to understand it. That's all it is, really. It's the attention to detail. So really, every accountant should have the knowledge. You know, okay, I mean, some accountants might not allocate enough time to go on like lots of different courses and research enough, and you know that there's that care to it as well, actually researching and staying up to date with everything. But yeah, it's just the attention to detail. So it's like you know, if you I often use the painter example. You know, if you had a really nice house with a nice kind of reception room and all that kind of stuff, one painter might be half the price of another one. But if the person's going to spend twice as long and it's going to look amazing afterwards, that makes a difference. So it's not like that painter's got some like special arms that he can just attach to himself and you know, some special paintbrushes. We might have better paintbrushes, first of all, but also they're just going to spend longer and more attention to detail, and it's all the experience and everything that they've had. So,
Can we dig in now? Come on, let's.
mm.
I mean, I've watched your
Oh, you
video,
could
right?
you could you
Okay,
could you could
give us
watch you
some
could watch
tax
the video.
saving tips. Give us some tax saving
Well,
tips, Chris. Come on,
what you
stop,
could.
stop, stop keeping all your sweets for yourself. This is.
I'm not keep,
Let's
I'm
give
not
them.
keeping them. I'm not keeping them. I'll put them all on YouTube. You can
Well,
watch the video.
they're gonna find out. They're gonna find out
Mm.
about exactly where we can find out more about you. But come on, let's dive into a few. What are some things that people aren't claiming? What they're not doing? You know, if how can they save some tax this year? Let's give them some gold on here.
Yeah, so I mean, like I say, you can watch that video that's got like 13 good ones. What you know, it's just little things like use of your home. Like your accountant might just say you can just claim the standard based based on like the size of your business or whatever they might do. But actually, like looking into like take that attention to detail, spending half an hour or 45 minutes, the accountant's doing that to actually like do the calculation properly to realize, you know, you could save someone, you know, like 100, £200 of tax, maybe. Who knows how much you could, you know, save there. And there's just so many other things where it's just like just doing it properly. Business expenses, for example, like we use Dex as an app to send through business expenses. So if you go out to Tesco and buy something, you've got an app on your phone, you just take a picture of it. It's things like that where it's just actually just claiming, doing the basics to claim absolutely everything you should. So it's kind of like the sports analogy of when they say, how do you know, if you're an amateur at any sport, what they say is you shouldn't try and do fancy things, just try and do the basics really well. And that's how you win games. That's literally how you win games if you're an amateur. If you just forget all the fancy stuff. So doing everything really well. And obviously there's then, you know, things like pensions, you know, buying commercial property through pensions, that kind of stuff. Um, there's kind of, you know, other things you can do like home gyms, family members on a payroll, that kind of thing. I mean, I definitely would
Oh, wait there. Just
advise
backtrack a
people
bit.
to,
Let's
yeah,
talk about home gyms. I've never heard that one.
yeah. Well,
What's the angle?
you haven't
What's the
seen the
angle on the
video
home
then.
gym?
You haven't seen the video then if you've not seen that one.
No, I want to dive into it for here because this is the stuff. Come on, home gyms.
Yeah, because if you've got a gym that's available to all the employees in your business, then then in theory you can put that home gym through a business. And if if all your employees are just you and your wife, let's say, then you can have, that gym is available to you and your wife, the employees of that business. So
Oh,
again, but
love.
yeah, I talk about it on the video. It's all out there in the open. Um, and there's things like university fees. That's one which a lot of these things do need, like, I definitely wouldn't recommend that people just do things without talking to if your accountant doesn't think you can claim it, then I wouldn't do it, because you have to collate evidence. They have to be there to back you up if anything happens with HMRC. So um yeah, but the main one is just doing all the basics properly, because you'd be shocked at how much money people are leaving on the table tax wise, just because they're not doing everything they should. It's like you said before about when the first time you had a business or something, you're like, oh, we'll just leave, won't increase prices there, or we'll just leave it. So it's leaving it all because you just think it's small, but and actually you realize how much it, like, if you, like, someone might not reprice their services in a year or two or something, and then think, oh, it's probably just like a few £100 a month or something, and then realize it's actually a few £1,000 a month.
We
It's the
had to do it
basics.
recently. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, we were having a discussion with the IPs, and like a basic liquidation was 4,000 for years, and we're like we are the market. Like nobody has the reviews that we have anymore. Like we've just blown up these last two and a bit years, and it's like
yeah.
we should be, because you've got
And
big firms price.
increasing your price is the best way to make lots of profit, because
But
it
how
just goes straight
scary is
onto
it?
you. Yeah, it's
How
scary.
scary is it?
But
It's
that's
like,
why as well, going back to the thing of, why should an accountant be an entrepreneur? Why should an accountant know about sales and marketing and operations and different things? Because otherwise they'd just be useless. Like with that pricing example, they could just say to you, oh, there's not much, what can we do to increase profit? Could increase your price. But that's where it would stop. That's where the conversation would stop. Because if they don't know anything about, what might happen, that if they don't understand your business to understand the value, how much value is it to the customer, and all the ins and outs of your business, how can they understand, because I've advised like online, just 2 days ago, an online coach. I won't say exactly in what industry it is, but an online coach. Literally, at the moment they're charging £1,500 for this online course. Yeah, it's not one to one or anything. It's one to many. They started out about 2 years ago, but they've been training for like 20 years doing what they do. There's big providers out there that charge twice as much, so £3,000. But literally, people are leaving there to come to him. And it's like, why, and because I truly understand his business, I know about different, about marketing and sales, and I've got background in all of that, and I truly understand his business. I literally just said, you need to double the price. I'm not going to tell you exactly what to do, because it's up to you to decide how you get to this point. But to give him the confidence, I said it should be twice as much. So it should be £3,000, just as much as them. But I can almost guarantee that in 3 or 4 years, it's going to be £10,000 that you're going to be charging. Because for him, it actually made sense. It's actually true. It was that valuable to the customer. Yeah. So, but I mean, where a business is just going back to the start of this whole call. where a business is like what we do, where it's just that it's been around for donkey's years. Our the service that we give, it's literally about just charging a bit more because people want to pay. They want to pay for a good service,
Hmm.
but just doing it well, just doing it well, and also caring about them, being trustworthy, just doing a really good service. Because why is Starbucks so expensive, for example? Why do they have a business? People don't, I once heard this thing of like, oh, should we increase our price and stuff? And it's like literally all the people that you're thinking about increasing a price to, if it's just a tiny amount, have all got iPhones, fancy trainers, and everything. Like, why are they buying an iPhone? They're not like price sensitive, they're value sensitive. If you're actually giving them something that's going to help their business,
Hmm.
then you charge for it.
Chris, I think that is probably a perfect place to start wrapping this up. And
Yeah.
you have been an incredible guest. I've really, really enjoyed talking to you, despite a
Okay.
few technical difficulties that we had early on.
So,
What we are going to do, we'll reach out and we want to get all the details for the show notes. But if
mhm.
anybody else wants to find out about you and your business, where can they see you? Where will they find you? Give us a call to action.
Yep, the website. The website is where you find us. Have a look at us there. And just book a discovery call, basically. Book a discovery call from the website. Um, yeah, we'd love to talk to you. Have a discovery call that just decides that, are we sort of on the same page? And then like a proposal meeting where we just find out more about you, basically. I'm not interested in being someone's accountant for 1 or 2 or 3 years. Doesn't interest me. Like, it literally is about care. Like, I heard this I think it was CEO or something of this of an investment bank in America. This was a long time ago. I heard this, but he said something that shocked me. He says our investment bank is less like a business. It's more like an ancient Chinese tribe. That's what we're like. Like, if we're talking about being someone's client for 20, 30 years, we're getting into like tribe tribe level, because it's really caring about someone and just providing that service to, it's like you say, finance is, your business will grow with marketing, it will grow with sales and everything, but it will do well if it's got good financial knowledge, good finance function behind it. So yeah, that's it really. Our website.
Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for joining us. And
Yeah.
yeah, we hope to see you soon. All the best,
Thank,
mate.
thank you
God
very much.
bless.
All the best.